Thank you for joining teachers all over the world on this historic course. I'm Drew Badger, author, English-speaking confidence expert, and co-founder of EnglishAnyone.com, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to Language and Logic, the secret to natural vocabulary learning. Before we get into the meat of this session, I want to begin with a one-question quiz. I'll give you a few seconds to look it over, and then we'll return to examine it more closely later. Here we go. X plus Y equals Z. What is Y? I always begin language lessons in a special frame of mind. I imagine I'm on some far-off planet and am teaching English to aliens. I know nothing of the students' alien language, and they know nothing of mine. This means I can't directly translate English words into their language, or use their language to explain how things like grammar rules work. It also means I must make lessons as simple and intuitive as possible, so students absorb things automatically. No matter what planet you live on, there are always basic rules of logic. A equals A. If P, then Q. If Q, then R. Therefore, if P, then R. Logic comes in many flavors, but I'll cover 3 of the most important for helping your aliens learn vocabulary as naturally as native speakers do. The most elementary tool in your bag of logical tricks is contrast. Even without any previous knowledge or additional information, you can understand something by comparing and contrasting it with something else. Shadow reveals light. Through pain, we understand pleasure. Let's use a concrete example and see if you can learn a few new words from some alien language. Resocks. I'm giving you just one word and an image of a single object. This seems obvious enough to me because I know what I mean, but is it really intuitive? Logically, resocks could mean apple, red, round, shiny, small, or any number of other things. Granted, context is important when teaching, and we'll get to that shortly. But I just want to make this point especially clear so you understand the minds of learners analyzing what you might think to be unmistakable. Here's the object again with a bit of contrast. Resocks hatha, penap hatha. Now we're cooking. By introducing contrast, the brain has something to work with. The images are identical except for a single, glaringly obvious difference. Looking back at the alien language, we can safely guess that the different words refer to the colors of the objects. It's also reasonable to assume that adjectives come before nouns in this language. It's amazing how much we can figure out all on our own when we're shown things in the right way. Just to be sure we understand, our benevolent alien teachers have given us an additional set of contrasting images to help us get our target word. Penap hatha, penap werg. If you didn't guess it already, penap means green and resocks means red. What we mean or want others to understand often isn't what gets transmitted. This happens frequently in everything from text messages to conversations between native speakers, so we have to be especially vigilant that we communicate as best as possible unmistakable messages. As students build a foundation of basic knowledge, they can begin using context to evaluate more complex information. Here's a quick story about how I was able to use context to teach myself some Korean, even though I know absolutely nothing about the language. I was visiting a friend of mine in Fukuoka, Japan recently, and we decided to go to a popular Korean restaurant. When I was left alone because my friend had to take care of his son, I noticed a poster of the actor Will Smith and his son Jaden on a wall near our table. The poster appeared to be for an upcoming movie, so I had the context figured out. I also guessed that since the actors share the same last name, I should find identical translations of the name Smith near each other on the poster. And that's exactly what happened. The coolest part of the discovery was that the characters for the name Smith appeared to be phonetic. If you look at the translated name, the character I took to mean Sue is repeated twice. Translating it back to English, we should get something like Sumisu. The same Sue character also appears in the title of the movie, which I later learned is called After Earth. When learners understand the context of an idea or message, and it's presented in a logical way, students will take care of the rest and enjoy doing it. The last form of logic we'll examine is analogy, a close cousin of basic comparison. If you can connect what you're trying to teach with something learners already understand, there's a better chance that information will be absorbed. To use a simple analogy here, language learning can be like code breaking. Like the translation puzzle here, your goal should be to create a situation where students have everything they need to literally teach themselves. Okay, since you may be wondering why I'm explaining what seems pretty self-evident, let's return to the math problem from the beginning of this session. X plus y equals z. What is y? The answer, in short, is anything. And that's the problem. There's no anchor, compass, or star to direct you towards one obvious conclusion because the answer depends on the numbers you use. In the world of language learning, this exact problem is often thrust upon unwary students, and with devastating consequences. Open virtually any beginning English textbook, or watch the first lesson of almost any English video course, and you'll most likely find something like this. My name is Tom. What's your name? This English may seem simple to teachers, but it's actually a recipe for pain. Even if students understand the context that greetings are being taught, there is absolutely no way to understand the grammar or words intuitively. These two sentences introduce the phonetic rules of English, possessive determiners, verb conjugation, identity, grammar, new vocabulary, sentence structure for statements and questions, and contractions. In some alien language, these sentences might look something like this. Because students can't possibly understand these sentences automatically, we resort to translations and explanations in lessons. And then we wonder why so many learners can't express themselves without having to translate things in their heads before they speak. The subtitle of this session is The Secret to Natural Vocabulary Learning. I used learning because our job is to help students teach themselves. We're really just facilitators. We painstakingly set up the dominoes so that all students have to do is knock them down with one effortless push. When learning happens in this way, students own knowledge, feel great about their progress, and become excited to learn more. Before we move on to teaching vocabulary and slang, please keep the following 3 points in mind. 1. What we consider to be simple and intuitive might not be to someone else. 2. A successful lesson should give students direct access to new information. Mental steps of translation and explanation should be limited or eliminated completely. 3. Education is the process of revealing a path to knowledge students can navigate by themselves. Ultimately, the secret to helping students learn any kind of vocabulary, phrase, or grammar lies in your frame of mind, and not with any specific technique. As long as you remain empathic and strive to keep things as intuitive as possible, the introduction of new vocabulary is really quite simple. Lessons for beginners should be tightly constrained so that understanding can be reached automatically with basic logic. Experienced learners can call upon previous knowledge and context, but lessons should still highlight new information in an intuitively understandable way. As an example, I often teach slang and idioms by juxtaposing native English sentences with what students might find in a textbook. Notice how I'm teaching something intermediate, but still using the basic principle of contrast. I went to a pizza restaurant after school. I hit up a pizza restaurant after school. In this way, students understand the basic meaning of hit up by contrasting it with went to. They also learn to think of the whole phrasal verb as one seamless unit and understand how it can be used in the wild. Going deeper, I'll change the tense of the sentence so students can see if and how the expression changes. I hit up a pizza restaurant after school. I'm hitting up a pizza restaurant after school. I'll hit up a pizza restaurant after school. With each iteration, I'm still changing only a small piece of the sentence. This answers potential questions about usage in different situations and helps students feel comfortable using the new word or phrase as quickly as possible. Once students understand hit up, I can use it to introduce even more new words. Remember to think of your students as aliens, and you'll help them become stronger and much more confident English speakers. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I'll see you in the comments.